Prime Minister Ehud Olmert would be very happy if he could end his term in office as the premier who released and brought home Gilad Shalit. But that may not happen. Two protest tents were put up today in Jerusalem, one calling for the quick release of Shalit, even if the price is heavy, and the other against any release of terrorists. Yoni Kempinski reported to us from Jerusalem.
Shalom, we are here outside of the Prime Minister's residence in Jerusalem. Now there are two protests going on here today. Before we relate to each one of them, it's important to note that each one of the sides agrees to the other's goal. Those protesting, calling for the quick release of Gilad Shalit, of course, would rather everything be done without any release of terrorists and murderers. And those who are calling against the mass release of murderers, of course, want to see Gilad Shalit home as quick as possible.
We don't have anything against the Shalit family. We want to see Gilad Shalit released from Hamas and brought back to his family, but we think it should be done in a way that will not involve releasing of terrorists.
What's happening here today is basically emotions versus emotions. Instead of having security officials sit down and talk about the consequences, the price, what everything means here regarding releasing prisoners and things like that, we have the bereaved family protest on one side of the street and a protest of the Shalit family on the other side of the street. Mayor Nir Barkat, mayor of Jerusalem, came here to the protest tent of the Shalit family, and he came here to express support, and he also talked about the price that he thinks should be paid in exchange for Gilad Shalit.
My views as to the price, Israel has to pay a price. We paid the price before. It's only reasonable that we'll pay a price. This time, it has to be done. 1,000 days is way too long, and we must close this and put this behind us.
So Yoni, let's begin with the Shalit family who came from their Upper Galilee home to sit in a protest tent in front of Olmert's home.
Well, 2 days after Prime Minister Ehud Olmert said that the rallies for Shalit actually are harming the negotiations for his release, his parents, Gilad Shalit's parents, Noam and Aviva, came here to Jerusalem outside of the Prime Minister's residence with many supporters, and they're here, sitting here. They say they will stay here until Shalit, until their son is brought home, or until a new government will come into power. They, of course, are trying to get things done as quick as possible during the time when Prime Minister Olmert is in power. They say that it's his responsibility. Shalit was kidnapped in his term, and he should be released in his term as well.
Now, Yoni, in addition to the protests, the family also began a new campaign. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, on Thursday, a new one-word campaign was unveiled. We can see around the road here a lot of signs with one word, the word Hatzilu. That's Hebrew for save me. Now, this word Hatzilu in Hebrew was written with letters from words that Gilad Shalit himself wrote on a letter that was sent to his parents. And so this is a whole campaign trying to give the feeling of a soldier who's in Gaza, as we said, almost 1,000 days. To be exact, we're talking today about 987 days that he's still in captivity in the Gaza Strip. And this campaign is to try to give a feeling of a soldier who is calling out for help.
So what's the main demand of the protest?
Well, the main demand, of course, is bringing Gilad Shalit home. We're talking about 987 days. This is a number that, of course, we're talking about almost 1,000 days. This is a number that we're going to hear a lot throughout these days to explain that is basically the main demand. Regarding the method, of course, that is the big issue. Now, we are hearing here more calls to accept the demands of the terrorists, and we're hearing less demands about pressuring the Hamas Arabs in the Gaza Strip and in general the Arabs of the Gaza Strip pressuring them to cause them to release Gilad Shalit in exchange for the opening of crossings and things like that. We're hearing here more about the price of terrorists that need to be released. But as we speak with Noam Shalit, the founder of Gilad Shalit, he explains to us that all he wants is one thing, to see his son home.
To free Gilad. This is the only thing that I'm demanding from the Israel government.
Now, Gilad's grandfather said on a radio interview that there's no avoiding meeting the kidnappers' demands. He says that whoever says that there is a way to avoid that, well, it's not their son or grandson. That's what he says. He says that it's better they keep their opinions to themselves. There is no way out of paying the price to release an IDF soldier. That is what the grandfather of Gilad Shalit says. Noam Shalit himself actually sent a message through the radio to the Arabs of Gaza. He said close to 1.5 million of Gaza's residents are being held hostage against Gilad because of Hamas's insistence that its men be released. They live in disgraceful poverty and under siege. The implementation of this deal could pull the plug and advance their release from the grave situation they are in. And so regarding the method of how to release Gilad Shalit, that is, of course, a whole controversial issue. But the main demand that we're hearing here today is that the government must do something. The question is if it should do anything to release Gilad Shalit.
We think that the image that was presented in the Israeli media that the only way to release Gilad is by releasing terrorists is a misleading way, and we think that there are many other ways that can be done.
And on the opposite corner, there is a counter-protest. What's happening there?
Yes, not far away from here, bereaved families of terror attacks are standing here and protesting against the mass release of terrorists. They actually put up a poster of 180 people who were killed by terrorists who were released from Israeli prisons. And this is to say, this is what could happen if we release too many prisoners, if we release murderers, even if it's for Gilad Shalit.
We are here to say that we want the government to release Gilad Shalit, but not to release convicted terrorists.
So we don't have any argument with them. They are talking from their pain, from their emotion, deep emotions. They lost their child, they lost their loved ones. So we don't have any claims against them.
Yoni, you mentioned that Olmert criticized the rallies for Shalit. What did he say exactly against these protests?
Well, Prime Minister Olmert has been very careful during his the past few years not to say anything too controversial. He said on the one hand, we will have to pay a price. On the other hand, he said we will be determined not to release too many terrorists and murderers. But it seems that as his term is completing and he is ready to leave office, he is being more straightforward. And what he said basically is the following. He spoke at Kibbutz Yifat. He said about Gilad Shalit, he's being held by scum. When they see a rally of 20,000 people, what do you think? Does it strengthen or weaken them? Explaining that the protests for Gilad Shalit are actually harming the negotiations for his release. Now, the Committee of Friends for the Release of Gilad Shalit did not relate to the claim itself, rather just criticized Olmert, saying, we don't know if the demonstrations for the return of Gilad help, but what we do know is that Olmert isn't helping. And it seems that Olmert may be ending his office without releasing Gilad Shalit, and he seems to at least try to explain that this is because he was strong and determined not to release too many terrorists and not to strengthen the Hamas. We also asked Noam Shalit himself to relate to the statement by Prime Minister Olmert.
Without any progress, any success in this issue, the only thing that left is to blame the family and the public about interrupting to his efforts.
Yoram Kempinski, thank you very much.